What's up, slackers? Welcome to Book Sheets. Today we'll be talking about Animal Farm Chapter 8. So, at the beginning of this chapter, it's a few days after the execution of all those animals. The animals remembered the 9th commandment and how it said, "Thou shalt not kill." Clover asked Benjamin to read the 6th commandment, but Benjamin didn't want to. So Clover got Muriel the goat to read the commandment for her. The pigs had now changed the commandment with 2 words, adding, "No animal shall kill any other animal without cause." Clover didn't remember the last 2 words, but assumed that she had just forgotten. The animals at this time worked harder than they ever did before. At the Sunday meetings, it was reported that they had 200 to 500% more food, but the animals ate less and less. They were obviously false reports. Napoleon at this time appeared less and less in public too. He just spent his time in the farmhouse in his room, with his room guarded by 2 dogs.
Hello.
It was commanded that every year on Napoleon's birthday, the gun would be fired. Napoleon was now referred to as our leader, Comrade Napoleon. Napoleon started to be treated sort of as a god. When animals would do anything like eat food or work, they would sort of say a prayer to Napoleon thanking him. The pig Minimus wrote a poem about Napoleon. It read, "Thou art the giver of all that thy creatures love, full belly twice a day, clean straw to roll upon. Every beast, great or small, sleep at peace in his stall. Thou watchest over all, Comrade Napoleon." This poem was inscribed the opposite wall of the 7 commandments, and Napoleon's image was painted next to it. So in the last chapter, something I didn't mention is that they had a bunch of timber that was on their land, and they were wanting to sell it to Mr. Frederick or Mr. Pilkington. So in the middle of this chapter, negotiations were still going on between Mr. Frederick and Mr. Pilkington for the timber, although Snowball was known to be at Mr. Frederick's farm. Midsummer, 3 pigs admitted to be conspiring to kill Napoleon under the direction of Snowball. They were killed, and now Napoleon commanded that 4 dogs guard him in his room. And a pig named Pink Eye now tasted all of Napoleon's food for food poisoning. Napoleon finally came to an agreement with Mr. Pilkington of the Foxwood farm for the sale of the timber. Napoleon and Mr. Pilkington were almost on friendly terms, even though they did all their business through Mr. Whymper. The windmill the animals were building was nearing completion, and they continued to hear rumors and rumors about Mr. Frederick plotting an attack. The animals also heard rumors of Mr. Frederick beating and being extremely cruel to his animals. Napoleon told the animals that he'd never do business with Mr. Frederick. Napoleon then told the pigeons to stop spreading the message of death to humanity, and then changed it to death to Frederick. It was found that Snowball set another plan into motion by having one of the animals put weeds in the corn seed. The animal convicted of this committed suicide by eating poison berries. The pigs then lied and told everyone that Snowball had never received Animal Hero First Class and that it was just a lie that he spread. The animals of course doubted this, but Squealer eased over their doubts. In autumn, the windmill was finally finished, although they still had to install the machinery. The animals were super excited that the windmill was finally done, and the windmill was named Napoleon Mill. 2 days after finishing the windmill, Napoleon announced that he had sold the timber to Mr. Frederick. It turns out that Mr. Frederick offered him 12 more pounds and would pay him cash instead of check. Napoleon then commanded the pigeons to stop sending out the message, "Death to Frederick," and changed it to "Death to Pilkington." Napoleon eased everyone's doubts about doing business with Mr. Frederick by saying the rumors of the oncoming attack from Frederick's farm was completely untrue, and that Snowball had been discovered at Pincherfield instead of Foxwood. Napoleon had sold the timber for just enough money for what they needed to install the machinery. Mr. Frederick and his men came and removed the timber really fast. 3 days later, Mr. Whymper came steaming down the road on his bike. The money was fake. Napoleon announced that they would catch Mr. Frederick and boil him. They knew that Mr. Frederick was going to attack now. They prepared for Mr. Frederick's attack and sent 4 pigeons to Pilkington Farm to try to ease things over. The next morning, 15 men, armed with 6 guns and other weapons, came to the farm. The men came and instantly overpowered the animals. The animals were driven back to the farmhouse, and many of them were injured. As the animals were cowering in the farmhouse, a pigeon came back from Mr. Pilkington's farm, and a message read, "Serves you right." Frederick and his men began drilling a hole into the windmill around the base. Benjamin the donkey told everyone they're gonna blast it down. Then the blast went off. The windmill that they had worked so hard on was gone. The animals rushed out in rage and beat the hell out of the men. A cow, 3 sheep, and 2 geese were killed in the battle, and almost everybody was injured, and even Napoleon had an injured tail. Boxer had killed 3 men, and the cow had gored another. The men fled off the farm. Squealer was gone for the whole battle. After the battle was over, Squealer came happily skipping along. A gun was fired for the victory, and Boxer asked Squealer why they would ever consider this a victory. Squealer said that they still had the farm. Boxer, in the battle, had been shot in the leg 12 times. Boxer was pissed because all the work of building the windmill was now for nothing. Squealer told him that they would build the windmill again and again until it was done. Boxer felt his age and realized that he was pretty old to be building a whole new windmill. The flag was raised and the gun was fired 7 times. Funerals followed and the animals were given 2 days for celebration and rest. The animals were also given biscuits and apples to celebrate their victory. This would be known as the Battle of Windmill. During the 2-day celebration, the pigs found some whiskey and they partied it up all night. The next day, Squealer came out and announced that Napoleon was dying. The animals cried and mourned, and Napoleon announced that drinking alcohol was punishable by death. By the evening time, Napoleon was feeling much better. He had a hangover pretty much. The next day, Napoleon had Mr. Whymper buy some books on brewery and distilling, and Napoleon began to grow barley on one of the fields. Barley is a plant that they use to make alcohol. A few weeks later, a strange incident occurred. It was late at night and the animals heard a loud crash. All the animals rushed to the barn and Squealer was on the ground under a broken ladder with a spilled can of white paint. No one knew what was going on except Benjamin, but Benjamin didn't say anything. Muriel the goat noticed a few days later that the 5th commandment had been slightly changed. It now read, "No animal should drink alcohol to excess." And that concludes the chapter. Thanks so much for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe. If you guys have any questions from your homework, I'd love to answer it. You guys have an awesome day and slack on.